multiple calls of an explosion of...
Tonight on WHAS 11 News at 6, a fireball levels homes. We have team coverage as a neighborhood in central Kentucky wakes up in the middle of the night to a massive natural gas line explosion.
It sounded like a big old jet engine.
A woman is dead and 6 others are hurt. Several homes are destroyed.
Siding is literally melted off of the residents.
The fiery explosion so large it was picked up by National Weather Service radar in Louisville.
The Lord just scooped us up like with a wing and just said, go now, go now, go now. And we listened.
We have been in Lincoln County since the overnight hours. Tonight, we have more on the owners of the pipeline, the company's past explosion history, and the latest from investigators. And here tonight, the massive natural gas pipeline explosion overnight, creating that fireball in Lincoln County of central Kentucky. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt. Residents running from their homes, trying to escape the flames after being rousted by that blast. It happened just after 1 this morning in a rural Houstonville, Kentucky neighborhood, which is off Route 127. And this is what the area looked like before the blast. And take a look. Now only a crater is left, with nearly 20 acres gone. And that's where we have full team coverage of the explosion tonight. First, we want to check in with our Lisa Hudson, who is live at the scene. Lisa?
Well, Doug, we are here in Lincoln County. A property owner actually allowed us to set up here on his property, which backs up to the blast zone that you can see in behind me.
There's still a lot of unknowns with this situation, but I want to give you guys the closest look of the scene that we have been able to get all day. I'm standing on the edge of this property that backs right up to this area.
The houses that are there are completely destroyed. And as you can imagine, at 1 o'clock in the morning, most people are inside asleep.
Three more shots just fired.
Dinner time shoppers inside the Portland neighborhood Kroger store suddenly find themselves in a shooting. Police rush to find a gunman.
Suspect still moving. He's right about this SUV.
Shoppers panic, racing to get out. One woman crashing her car in the chaos.
All right, we got to watch the front doors of the car. There might be someone else inside.
With guns drawn, police end the threat.
One subject down.
And it is a late developing story right now here on the night team. We've just been told by Metro Police that sometime in the next 30 minutes, they will be giving new details about a person found dead after a shooting at the Portland neighborhood Kroger store. Hello, everyone. I'm Doug Proffitt. That shooting happening at the store near 35th and Bank Street, it was full of shoppers. The night team is covering all angles, from the frightening moments in the store to police rushing through it looking for a gunman. Jesse Cohen begins our coverage with that update coming soon from the police chief at LMPD.
Now, this all started around 6 p.m. tonight when there were reports of shots fired and people trapped in the grocery store. We arrived just shortly after and the scene was chaotic.
She described the moments as scary, saying she never expected coming here to this Kroger tonight would mean hours away from her kids at home.
We've received several calls stating there was an explosion in the area. Advising now that there is a working structure fire at 903 Senate Avenue, PD and EMS en route as well.
And less than 5 minutes later, first responders arrived to a house in the Capitol Hills neighborhood, which was completely demolished.
We didn't have really any working fire. There was a vehicle that was on fire. When we arrived, we were able to extinguish that.
Situation 45 is going to be on the scene of a single-family residential structure. We have no fire smoke showing at this time, although we have had some sort of large explosion here.
Officials may not have released the official cause just yet, but are waiting for the gas company investigators' findings.
I'm waking up, and I have my glasses and my contacts in, and all I see is a car out the window because all the glass is on top and the ceiling fell down on us.
A 5 a.m. wake-up call JC and his family will never forget.
Ran inside, I heard my daughter screaming, pulled the ceiling off the top of her, grabbed her, my wife. It was my absolute rock. But didn't lose her composure like I'm trying not to right now. Had us all up and out.
A major fire at this Jim Beam warehouse filled with 45,000 bourbon barrels caught fire last night at 11:30. And as of today, crews are still working to put out the hot spots. Now, it started after 2 barrel warehouses at the Jim Beam facility engulfed in flames. Crews were able to put out the fire in the second warehouse, but flames were still visible the next morning, almost 15 hours after it started.
A piece of closure finally given to the loved ones of Savannah Spurlock.
They're very happy with what law enforcement was doing.
But a search for answers still very much alive. Private investigator Sal Grasso was hired by the family more than 2 weeks ago, and now he tells me what struck him most.
Right off the bat, what would seem odd to me, and like I've been saying, there's an odor to it right from the get-go. Savannah was seen going to that house in Garrett County, and she was never seen coming out.
There's a lot of red on the State House lawn today. Thousands of teachers coming together to send a message to lawmakers and to demand more for public education.
I wanted to learn more about the complaint process and asked Board Chair Brian Julian after the meeting.
You guys are a public agency. I'm just trying to have transparency here.
So, Chris.
Again, the board's attorney, Chris Hunt.
We need police response. A patient is being abusive to staff.
They're the helpers.
I've been choked with my stethoscope.
Scratched, grabbed,
spit on, stabbed, had urine thrown in my face.
Getting hurt.
He placed his hands around my neck.
It was May 4th, 2019. More than 150,000 people crowded Churchill Downs for the 145th Kentucky Derby. But 15 hours earlier and 9 miles west of the track, 49-year-old Jim Roth was walking alone here on Sylvania Road. It would be the last time anyone saw him alive.
Nestled between Kentucky's rolling hills.
Well, this town really has a lot of charm.
Beyond the bourbon distilleries.
Full of friendly Southern hospitality.
Beside the Bluegrass Parkway.
It was a Norman Rockwell painting. It was a very idyllic.
This tiny town takes you back in time.
I like to say Bardstown's a typical Kentucky town, but it truly isn't. It's very special.
Most celebrated for its signature spirit.
Orange. A little bitters.
Bardstown is called the bourbon capital of the world.
Do the muttering, very important to do that. We stir.
With an emphasis on agriculture and tourism, those who live here are proud of their old Kentucky home.
I love Bardstown, it's so beautiful.
But beyond the bourbon and the beauty, there's a story.
We've like a fractured bone that we've never put a cast on. It's still there, it still hurts.
A story that starts in 2013.
Hello, hello. Officer down, Bluefield Road.
It was the worst day of my life.
A quick thought on the smoking age going up to 21. We keep hearing people say that this could hurt businesses who rely on tobacco sales. And I was kind of wondering if that's even true. So I looked into it, and the answer is not really. Look at this. Right now, the CDC says that about 14 out of every 100 U.S. adults 18 or older smoke. So we're talking about 14%. Now, only 8 out of every 100 adults age 18 to 24 smoke. So that's only 8%. And keep in mind, that's 18 to 24, not 18 to 20. So we're talking about less than 1% of the population here. That's just not enough to cripple a business. Let's just be real about it.
In order to form precipitation, air needs to rise high in the atmosphere and condense out its moisture. This is an unstable air mass and how clouds form. When temperatures are extremely cold, say below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, air becomes so dense that it's much more difficult for it to rise and condense its moisture. Thus, snow becomes much less likely, but not impossible.
Ponds and lakes like this can turn to ice. It usually takes several days with high temperatures in the 20s and lows in the single digits. It can look fun to play on, but it's best not to test out that pond or lake ice. Ice accidents happen every year, resulting in rescues and possible death. Ice is only safe to walk on when it's clear ice and at least 4 inches thick, which rarely happens around here.
It was a moment that made many stop in their tracks.
Everybody's jaws just dropped. You know, we were all just like, no way.
Utter shock. It kind of sucked the air out of the room, honestly.
A historic night that even the people most closely related to the track feel confused about.
Hey dude, you wanna go get coffee?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we're getting close. It should be up here on the right. Where do you want to park? Okay, I'm thinking either 12th, 13th, or 15th Streets. Why not 14th? Because 14th Street doesn't exist.
No, really, there's no 14th Street in Louisville. At least for our intents and purposes today, if you're driving along counting street signs, you'll go from 13th Street to 15th Street. Some very observant people noticed this online and were asking why, and it's been bugging me ever since. Now this question actually took a really long time to answer, and I had to talk to a lot of people about it. But finally, Kelly Dunnigan at the Louisville Free Public Library was able to pull all the pieces together.
The war doesn't stop when we get back home. The war never leaves the minds of those who have served in it.
The adjustment is far from simple.
When you're overseas, it's kind of wake up, do your job, eat, go to sleep, wake up, do your job, eat, go to sleep.
Answering the toughest question, what now?
It is hard when, you were once one person and now you're really somebody completely different.
She was just incredibly talented with the way she connected with people. She was a Texas gal through and through. I had her my senior year in college, so we kind of grew up together.
Krista Hammock never went a day
It was texting or it was a call
without hearing from her girl.
She says, okay, this is such a beautiful picture of you.
Last contact was Oaks 2018.
Hope you have the best day. I love you. And I said, thank you. I wish you were here.
As predictable as a sunrise, trains cross the public train trestle every day. At night, a monster lures his prey.
I didn't really find a definitive story of what the legend was. There were some main elements.
The Pope Lick Monster. 2 legs and hooves like a goat. Coarse brown hair covers his body. At his torso, he begins to resemble a man. Then his head, a goat's, curling sharp horns and piercing yellow eyes.
The Pope Lick Monster is a creature that comes out at night and it lures you across the train tracks into his eyes, which is really the eyes of an oncoming train.
Our roots can say a lot about us.
This is my hair and it is freedom.
This is my hair and it is powerful.
This is my hair and it's me.
For some of us, hair is more than just hair.
For me, my hair means my culture. It means me as a woman. It means I can express myself in any way, shape, or form.
For Ashanti Scott, it's personal.
I was very disappointed that my school would have something like this.
They're so happy. Quite happy.
We have Elijah, Rhea, and Karis.
He's gonna sneeze. Oh, bless you.
They were born at 33 weeks.
Okay, we've got some pea pods here.
You are so super.
Anna's Supergirl. We have big sister Sarah, 4 years ago, was also a NICU grad. So we have our 2 Supergirls.
Are you gonna say hi?
Well, this is Tanner. He was born at 28 weeks, and we picked a policeman outfit because we're protecting and serving the NICU babies. Yeah.
All units, be advised we are receiving multiple calls of an explosion.
Tonight on WHAS 11 News at 6, a fireball levels homes. We have team coverage as a neighborhood in central Kentucky wakes up in the middle of the night to a massive natural gas line explosion.
It sounded like a big old jet engine.
A woman is dead and 6 others are hurt. Several homes are destroyed.
Siding is literally melted off of the residents.
The fiery explosion so large it was picked up by National Weather Service radar in Louisville.
The Lord just scooped us up like with a wing and just said, go now, go now, go now. And we listened.
We have been in Lincoln County since the overnight hours. Tonight, we have more on the owners of the pipeline, the company's past explosion history, and the latest from investigators. And here tonight, the massive natural gas pipeline explosion overnight, creating that fireball in Lincoln County of central Kentucky. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Prophet. Residents running from their homes, trying to escape the flames after being rousted by that blast. It happened just after 1 this morning in a rural Houstonville, Kentucky neighborhood, which is off Route 127. And this is what the area looked like before the blast. And take a look. Now only a crater is left, with nearly 20 acres gone. And that's where we have full team coverage of the explosion tonight. First, we want to check in with our Lisa Hudson, who is live at the scene. Lisa?
Well, Doug, we are here in Lincoln County. A property owner actually allowed us to set up here on his property, which backs up to the blast zone that you can see in behind me. There are railroad tracks right next door that were shut down earlier today because of everything that was going on. They are running just fine now, but there are still plenty of helicopters, lots of activity still going on here. Now, we do want to let you know that we just heard from officials that if you are not affected by this blast, those 75 people that were evacuated earlier today are free to return back to their homes in order to get their personal belongings, but they need to be aware that they do not have any power and they probably don't have any water as well. Tyler Emery is also here in Lincoln County. She's been following the latest details. Tyler, what can you tell us?
Lisa, as you had mentioned, there's still a lot of unknowns with this situation, but I want to give you guys the closest look of the scene that we have been able to get all day. I'm standing on the edge of this property that backs right up to this area. You can see that there is still smoke rising from the exact spot of where that pipeline ruptured around 1:20 this morning. So we are now about 17 hours from when this explosion happened. Investigators, as Lisa had mentioned, this scene is still very active. They're out here surveying the area. Even still, they've been out here for hours, at least since we have been able to be in this spot checking out this scene. We do know there were 5 homes once standing here on this property that you're looking at, all now completely burned to ash. Several other homes nearby also damaged with siding melted. We do know 58-year-old Lisa Derringer was inside one of those homes. Police have confirmed she died on scene when first responders found her outside the home. Although we are told all other residents are accounted for, some do have minor injuries but are expected to be okay.
Frankly, that is surprising. The houses that are there are completely destroyed. And as you can imagine, at 1 o'clock in the morning, most people are inside asleep. And so this could have been much, much worse.
As for this explosion, we do know a 30-inch pipeline ruptured, but what we still don't know is that exact cause of the rupture. Both the NTSB and ATF will be out here assisting local and state law enforcement as they try and determine the exact cause, although the latest update from officials telling us that could take days or even weeks to determine the answer to that. Now, Heather Fontaine has been out here with me all day. Let's send it right over to her as she's been talking with some of those most closely affected by this explosion. Heather.
Well, I can tell you that nearly 100 people are back here at New Hope Baptist Church tonight, either looking for help or looking for ways to help. A community meeting in the sanctuary just let out. Emergency management teams were here trying to figure out who needs what to get through the night or longer. And Tyler, I can tell you the stories that I heard today were chilling.
First time in my life I ever had to run for my life.
Connie Cruz was just starting to fall asleep when an explosion shook her to her core.
And when I opened my eyes up, all I seen was red through the whole house and out the windows.
She grabbed her purse and ran as fast as she could to her car, even though she was 2,000 feet from the flames. She says it was so hot, she felt like she was on top of it.
When I felt all that heat on me when I tried to get in the car, you know, I thought, oh, it's done got me. It's gonna blow my car up and me up sitting in it, you know.
She drove 10 miles, 20 miles, still seeing the flames in her rear view. And she wasn't the only one.
It was an urgency of don't hesitate, don't look back, don't even stop for a second, just keep going. And had we not heeded those warnings, well, our neighbor didn't make it, so. And we were closer than she was, so.
It was so hot,
I don't see how we got out of there.
Police say one woman lost her life, and though Connie hasn't seen it for herself, she believes she's lost her home of 19 years. A devastating day with no end in sight.
I'm homeless and I'm disabled. I don't like it.
Not everyone here has been affected by this explosion. We have seen business owners and volunteers just looking for ways to help, standing together, which is certainly what this community is going to need. I'm now going to toss it over to Lisa Hudson, who is still at the site of the explosion. Lisa?
Thank you, Heather, for that report. Of course, the last time something like this happened in Kentucky was in 2014. It happened in Knifley, Kentucky. That's in Adair County. 2 homes were destroyed, 1 significantly damaged, 2 barns damaged, multiple cars destroyed in that blast. Now, the pipe that exploded then belonged to the Columbia Gulf Transmission and was about 20 feet underground. This pipeline is part of the Texas Eastern Transmission Pipeline. It stretches from the Gulf of Mexico and Texas all the way up through Kentucky and then on to New York City. The gas supply was shut off as soon as officials were contacting the company, and today no one says they saw any signs of a gas leak before this explosion, but there are signs that you can look for if you do live near a gas line. The first sign that you want to think about is, of course, the smell of rotten eggs. You're going to smell that if a gas line's leaking. Also, if you hear a blowing or a hissing sound, dust could be blowing from a hole in the ground. The soil in the area may also be abnormally dry or hard. Now, if all of these things are going on around you, you need to leave wherever you are immediately. Do not go looking for that leak. Now, coming up in just a few minutes, our focus team is going to take a closer look at the company that owns Texas Eastern Transmission Pipeline. They're going to figure out exactly the history of their incidents right here in the state of Kentucky. For now, I'm Lisa Hudson, WHAS 11 News.
All right, Lisa and our team in Central Kentucky, thank you. And late today, we got a brand new view from our surveillance camera showing the blast as it happens. Now watch closely here. It is dark at first. Look at the upper left of the screen. The explosion appears in the upper left. There it goes, the corner of this computer screen. This video given to us by the New Hope Baptist Church in Lincoln County. Their surveillance camera is capturing it. Now, we also started getting emails and other social media pictures from people in Central Kentucky minutes after the blast. I got these 3 pictures 30 minutes after the explosion from Tim Adams, who lives within sight of it. In his very first photograph, he's actually hanging outside his home's window to take this picture. You see the side of the house. Tim told me, quote, "I was in bed watching Netflix when the entire world shook. I thought the Marathon gas station down the way had blown up. My house has been violently vibrating for 30 minutes. The fireball is prominent." And right here, here's his final photo, the geyser of fire going full bore. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell taking to the Senate floor today to make his remarks.
Our prayers are with the families whom this disaster has touched, and our gratitude is with all the first responders who rushed toward towering flames to protect their neighbors and communities.
Now, Governor Matt Bevin chose not to go to Lincoln County. He held a campaign-related news conference in Frankfort today, but he was asked about the explosion.
It's a tragedy, and it's truly heartbreaking. These things happen. It's a dangerous industry. It's a dangerous business.
And the governor is now heading to Cincinnati, where he will appear on stage with President Donald Trump at a rally tonight. Also at that news conference, the governor claimed Attorney General Andy Beshear is taking blood money. We've got more news for you right after this. Their feud taking on a new angle tonight. More local news here at 6 o'clock. One woman has died after a house fire that happened in the Chickasaw neighborhood this morning. This occurred just about 6 a.m. today on Exley Court. When the crews arrived, they discovered 84-year-old Thelma Ralston dead inside her home in an area where she does not sleep. Ralston's sister tells us she believes she was trying to get out and got disoriented. Nobody else was hurt, and there's no word yet on what caused this fire. Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin is pushing abortion to the forefront of his re-election campaign in the state today by lashing out at Democratic Attorney General Andy Beshear, who of course is running against him.
This is a guy who is accepting blood money from people who provide abortions in this state to fund his campaign.
Andy Beshear's campaign manager Eric Hires said in a statement released today, quote, "His press stunt this morning was unhinged and erratic and demonstrates that he is not fit to be the governor of Kentucky." Destruction in the Lincoln County, Kentucky area after the massive gas line explosion. Coming up, our WHS 11 News Focus team is digging into the company that owns the pipeline and previous incidents.
Well, a good start to August on this Thursday. Some sunshine out there, and here's first forecast for the evening. Fair and warm, a little patchy fog overnight, and we head back to partly sunny skies for the day on Friday. What about the weekend? We'll have that for you coming up. First, your Kentucky Lottery jackpot numbers: Mega Millions, 50 million. Kentucky's Powerball, 102 million.
The Kentucky Lottery, fueling imagination, funding education.
Tonight, we are focusing on Enbridge. That's the company that owns and operates the Texas Eastern Transmission Pipeline. It has a history of incidents we found in Kentucky. One as recently as May. Others are dating back, though, to the 1980s. Tonight, our focus team is reading the report, seeing what went wrong, what's changed since then. Here's investigative journalist Whas McCallister.
We started on the NTSB website and found 14 lengthy recommendations. It mapped out to be dozens of documents citing what happened, what went wrong. We wanted to know what was learned from that, and could an incident that happened on this same pipeline back in May have any connection to the explosion today?
Or some remains have been spotted. We don't know how many.
April of 1985, a pipeline explosion killed 5 people and hurt 3 others. It happened in Beaumont, Kentucky. This video from our WHAS 11 archive.
The fire from the gas explosion swept across the ground for about a half-mile.
14 months later, another explosion only 2 hours away from Beaumont in Lancaster. This time, 3 people are hurt, houses destroyed. A mass evacuation of the area goes into effect to try to save others. After the explosions, the NTSB investigated. Documents detail what they call, quote, deficiencies. In the first incident, that left 5 dead, investigators point to corrosion. In the second explosion, more of the same, except this time documents say that corroded segment was identified 5 months before the incident, but no corrective action was taken. And after the explosions, calls for action from the government, asking owners and operators to develop new testing and training for corrosion to avoid another preventable explosion. So, we have questions. Did the company ever create those new operating procedures? Well, they wouldn't tell us. And when is the last time they inspected the part of the pipeline that exploded today? That's a question they wouldn't answer either. We only know something happened on the pipeline on May 8th, about 4 miles from today's explosion site. Enbridge, the company that owns and operates this pipeline, wouldn't give us any details on that incident either. The only thing they would say to us today is that the NTSB is leading this investigation. For Focus, I'm Whas McCallister.
Focus is our WHAS 11 News Investigative team as we're going in depth on stories just like this. If you have something you think the Focus team should look into or a tip for them about this incident, you can email them. The address is easy. It's focus@WHAS11.com. Checking on Kentucky and its weather tonight all across. We're having a wonderful start to August, which is amazing to say, and meteorologist T.G. Shuck is showing us that we're going to be rain-free for quite a few many more days here at T.G.
Yeah, for the most part, Doug, as we head into the upcoming weekend, should be a pretty nice first weekend of August. It's going to be hot, of course, but humidity levels shouldn't be overly high. There is one spot across our southern counties, I think south of the parkways, down toward Campbellsville, Columbia, Mumfordville, Greensburg. That area is going to have a little better shot at maybe a stray storm popping up during the heating of the afternoon over the next 2 or 3 days. Reason for it, the front that brought us the rain and storms Monday and Tuesday, it's caught up in the mountains to our east, and that's going to have an impact. Morgan & Morgan HC Camera Network and Furnished Fair Cam looking at downtown. Skies are clearing out after those few fair weather clouds out there. 88 at the International Airport, 87 at Bowman Field. Our air is pretty dry, and the reason for that, northeast wind coming around high pressure to our north, and that is keeping things a little drier here in the metro and points to the north. It's 90 downtown, 89 PRP in Valley Station, 84 in Lanesville. You get outside of the metro, mainly into the a few upper 80s here and there. And again, you see south of Louisville, down toward the parkways, you got those upper 60s and low 70 dew points, indicating it's a little muggy there. Farther north, not so bad where the drier air is located. So again, kind of a battle, high pressure to the north and that boundary to the south. And with some of that moisture riding up and over the boundary, a lot of the data indicating that some of that moisture may stream far enough to the north to trigger a pop-up shower or storm during the heating of the afternoon. Now, starting things out tomorrow, away from the metro, a little patchy fog. Otherwise, going to be nice and quiet in the 60s in most locations. Notice a few specks of green here, again, south of the parkways. But looking at things overall, just a very, very slight chance during the afternoon. Again, primarily south Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We get more high pressure in here into Monday, so it should be mainly dry. So notice how the boundary just kind of hangs tough through the Tennessee Valley. A lot of the data indicating, again, a few showers, isolated storms, mainly south of the viewing area. But again, high pressure in control will be into the 90s. As mentioned, humidity levels looking pretty good here. We're going to be fairly low until Wednesday. And the reason for that, Monday, Tuesday, okay. But notice on Tuesday, starting to see some activity to our north. Cold front drops in and a little better shot at more widespread activity. So mostly clear tonight, 69 here in the city, mid 60s elsewhere. A little patchy fog coming up early tomorrow and partly sunny already into the mid 80s by the noon hour, and that stray storm across our southern counties possible. Otherwise dry and hot, but wind still out of the northeast, so that's going to keep things overall pretty comfortable. And again, you see the few little thunderstorm icons over the course of the weekend. That is for our southern counties. High and dry with those low 90s Monday, Tuesday, and we'll increase the chances a little bit as that front drops in next Wednesday and Thursday.
Thank you, TG. We are a month away from the beginning of college football. How the Cardinals are adjusting to a new coaching regime, that's coming up next.
We are just over a month away from September 2nd when the Louisville Cardinals kick off the Scott Satterfield era at home under the big lights against Notre Dame. The Cardinals are hoping to turn their program around after last season's disastrous campaign. For the returning players, they have to adjust not only to the new head coach, but the new position coaches Scott Satterfield is bringing with him to Louisville. For linebacker Dorian Etheridge, he's working with his third defensive coordinator in 3 years.
This is one of those things where it helped me. And, you know, of course, it hinders the defense, as far as the process of us all growing as a unit. But it's definitely helped us seeing, the different coaching styles.
And check this out, the University of Louisville dropping this rendering of what Denny Crum Court will look like this upcoming season. The university needed to update the court after the NCAA pushed the Division I men's three-point line back. This new design features the Duncan Cardinal at midcourt with some updates. Check out those shoes. This Cardinal now with some fresh kicks from Adidas. And of course, Doug, we were talking earlier, some news coming out of UK about the liquor sales. If you're going to games as a fan, you won't be able to purchase alcohol this upcoming season.
They had considered that. I saw where Mitch Barnhart said they want to keep a family-friendly, safe place to focus on young people that play the games. Of course, there was that fatality involving a young boy outside a football game last year. And so I'm sure they were sensitive to that. He hasn't played into that decision, but they've said no alcohol at the football games.
Absolutely. We'll get into that more at 11.
We'll hear from Mitch Barnhart. Okay, thank you very much, Dennis. Let's check in one more time with Lisa Hudson, who's live in Central Kentucky, Lincoln County. Lisa?
Well, Doug, it is hard to imagine the destruction that we have seen here in Lincoln County today. The roar, the heat, the whole world shaking, as those who experienced it described it. These are moments that they will have etched into their memories probably forever. And the family of 58-year-old Lisa Renee Derringer, the sole casualty from this explosion, they are experiencing a grief that few of us can imagine. Of course, we've shown you these images that you're seeing right now. You've heard the sounds from this explosion. You've heard from those who saw it all firsthand. Of course, that's our job as journalists, to bring you the story as it happens. But there is more to this story, and it will unfold in the days and weeks and months to come. And that is the story of common humanity, of compassion, neighbors helping neighbors rebuild their lives. And no matter how devastating or how tragic, even how desperate the situation, we as Kentuckians, we always rise, right? And we help each other rise. That's part of what we do. That's part of who we are. That is what's happening here in Lincoln County. They are finding the hope in a hopeless situation, and they will move from tragedy to triumph. Just you wait and see. That's it here from Lincoln County. I'm Lisa Hudson. Thank you for joining us here at 6 o'clock. We'll see you tonight at 11.